They called them the most reliable trucks in America, built to last, engineered for strength, trusted by millions. But behind the roar of the engines and the glossy TV ads, something was quietly breaking. Not just the trucks, but the very trust between General Motors and its customers. This is the story of a scandal that refuses to die, a story that reaches from small-town garages to corporate boardrooms in Detroit. It's a story about how one of the world's largest automakers may have deliberately allowed its engines to fail, and how the people who depended on those trucks are now paying the price. In 2023, GM quietly issued recalls affecting hundreds of pickup trucks, Silverado, Sierra, and others, citing potential engine failures. The official line was vague, the fixes were simple, but deep inside GM's own files, investigators found something far more troubling. Internal documents showing engineers had known about these engine defects for years. They warned of microscopic machining flaws, oil film breakdowns, and bearing destruction. Yet instead of fixing the issue, GM leadership made a different choice, a financial one. According to whistleblowers, the company decided to optimize production standards, reducing the precision of critical engine parts to save money and time. The goal wasn't durability, it was survival through the warranty period. Engines were built not to last a lifetime, but to last just long enough. And when they failed, the burden fell not on GM, but on the owners, construction workers, farmers, delivery drivers, people who relied on their trucks for a living. Independent analysts say the potential cost of replacing all affected engines could reach billions of dollars. Yet GM's official response remains minimal. Oil changes, software updates, cosmetic fixes. Meanwhile, stories of sudden engine seizures, roadside breakdowns, and even accidents continue to spread across the country. But this scandal isn't just about faulty metal or bad oil. It's about a corporate mindset, a quiet shift from engineering excellence to engineering expedience. Former GM designers describe a culture where longevity no longer mattered, only the warranty numbers did. Where the question was no longer how can we make it last forever, but how can we make it last just long enough? And now, with lawsuits mounting and customers furious, that culture is being exposed. Millions of American families are realizing their so-called reliable trucks might be ticking time bombs. Competitors like Ford and Toyota are already capitalizing, offering trade-in bonuses for disillusioned GM owners. What went wrong inside GM? How deep does this deception go? And how many engines, how many lives will it take before real accountability begins? Tonight, we pull back the curtain on a scandal bigger, dirtier, and far more dangerous than you think. This is the untold story of the GM engine crisis, and the betrayal that shook America's faith in its most iconic trucks. In early 2025, headlines once again erupted with a name that has become almost synonymous with both American innovation and corporate controversy: General Motors. What began as a quiet technical recall in 2023 has now evolved into a full-blown national scandal, one that threatens not only the company's reputation, but also the very foundation of trust it once enjoyed among millions of loyal truck owners. The engines that powered America's best-selling pickups, the Silverado and Sierra, are now at the center of a storm involving mechanical failure, internal cover-ups, and a corporate culture where profit came before people. For years, GM has sold the image of its trucks as indestructible machines built for the hardest work, hauling steel, crossing deserts, pulling trailers through the Rockies. Commercials showed proud workers starting their trucks before dawn, framed by the slogan "Built for Real Life." Yet beneath that rugged exterior lay a truth few inside the company wanted to admit. According to documents obtained by an independent consortium of automotive engineers, certain V8 engines used in GM's pickup line suffered from micro defects introduced during the precision machining phase at a plant in Flint, Michigan. The flaws, invisible to the naked eye, could lead to oil starvation, bearing wear, and ultimately catastrophic engine seizure, sometimes after as little as 30,000 miles. When the first incidents appeared in 2019 warranty reports, GM engineers allegedly flagged the anomaly in internal memos marked urgent. One leaked email, reportedly sent by a senior design engineer, stated, "We are sitting on a potential Class A safety defect. These bearings are not surviving normal load cycles. But the response from upper management, as insiders now claim, was not to halt production or issue a transparent warning. It was to buy time. Executives believed the majority of engines would fail after warranties expired, limiting the company's financial exposure. They called it controlled degradation. By mid-2022, field technicians across several states, Texas, Oklahoma, and Colorado, began noticing the same symptoms: knocking noises, metal shavings in oil filters, and sudden loss of power. Local dealerships were flooded with complaints. GM's official service bulletin, labeled SB219C, instructed mechanics to replace oil caps and update ECM software, a procedure that cost less than $40 per vehicle and did nothing to address the underlying failure. The company quietly classified the issue as a maintenance anomaly rather than a manufacturing defect. The deception might have remained buried if not for a whistleblower, a quality control manager named Rebecca Owens, who came forward in late 2023. In sworn testimony to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Owens described a meeting where a senior vice president allegedly said, "We don't build for eternity, we build for warranty." That single phrase became the rallying cry for angry truck owners across America. Social media exploded with videos of engines stalling mid-drive, tow trucks hauling nearly new Silverados off the highway, and frustrated customers facing repair bills upward of $10,000. By 2024, more than 800 trucks had been formally recalled, but independent analysts estimate the real number of affected vehicles could exceed 2 million. Financial experts warn that potential liabilities may reach into the billions, especially if class action lawsuits succeed in proving deliberate negligence. Even more damaging than the numbers, however, is the emotional betrayal felt by longtime GM loyalists, farmers, veterans, small business owners, the very people who helped build the brand's blue-collar identity. Adding to the controversy are leaked minutes from a 2021 engineering summit where GM executives allegedly debated whether to downgrade machining tolerances across the V8 line to save $60 per engine. One participant reportedly objected, saying, "That's not engineering, and that's gambling with people's safety." His protest was overruled. Now, with the scandal reignited, the question echoing through Detroit boardrooms and congressional hearings is simple yet devastating. How could America's most trusted truck maker allow such a failure to happen, and for so long? As new evidence emerges and whistleblowers continue to speak, it's clear this is more than a technical mishap. It's a crisis of conscience, one that exposes the fragile line between efficiency and ethics in the heart of the American auto industry. At the heart of the GM engine scandal lies a deceptively small defect, one invisible to most owners, yet capable of destroying an entire powertrain. The problem begins deep inside the company's family of small block V8 engines, particularly the 5.3L and 6.2L variants used in Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra trucks from 2018 onward. On paper, these engines were masterpieces of modern engineering, efficient, lightweight, and packed with the latest cylinder deactivation technology. But in reality, they concealed a series of design and manufacturing compromises that would come back to haunt GM years later. According to leaked internal reports, the first warning signs appeared during pre-production testing. Engineers noticed abnormal bearing wear and irregular oil pressure drops in prototype engines that had barely reached 20,000 miles of simulated use. The root cause was traced to microscopic irregularities in the crankshaft journals, a machining defect introduced by new high-speed cutting tools implemented at GM's Flint engine operations plant. These tools, designed to reduce manufacturing time, left behind surfaces that looked flawless under standard inspection but had roughness variations at a microscopic level. Under extreme heat and pressure, those tiny imperfections disrupted the oil film that kept moving parts separated. Once that oil barrier broke, metal met metal, and failure was only a matter of time. Rather than halting the line and recalibrating the tooling, GM management allegedly opted for a workaround. The engines were fitted with a new low-friction coating on the bearings and a modified oil control system intended to extend durability. It worked, but only temporarily. The coating masked the problem long enough for most engines to reach the end of their warranty period, Behind the scenes, a confidential engineering memo from 2020 warned that bearing degradation may accelerate dramatically under towing conditions or prolonged idling, exactly the kind of heavy use these trucks were marketed for. The technical issues didn't stop there. To meet emissions regulations, GM had introduced its active fuel management, AFM, and later dynamic fuel management, DFM systems, software that deactivates cylinders to save fuel. However, the constant switching between active and inactive states created pressure fluctuations in the oiling system. Combined with the pre-existing machining flaws, this led to unpredictable lubrication failures. In some engines, oil foamed and lost its viscosity. In others, tiny fragments of worn metal circulated through the system, scarring vital components. Independent mechanics have described the aftermath as engine cancer, progressive, unstoppable, and often fatal. By 2021, the company's internal reliability data showed a sharp uptick in warranty claims for seized engines, especially in hot weather states like Arizona and Texas. Yet, instead of disclosing this pattern, GM reportedly adjusted its internal diagnostic codes to categorize many of these incidents as improper maintenance or customer misuse. That reclassification helped reduce the official failure rate on paper, but left thousands of customers with no recourse. One particularly damning discovery came from a series of tear-down analyses conducted by independent engineers in early 2024. They found that the machining tolerance on certain crankshafts had been loosened by up to 0.04 inches compared to earlier models, a seemingly insignificant figure that, under continuous stress, translated into catastrophic instability. To make matters worse, some engines were fitted with lower-grade aluminum alloy connecting rods sourced from a third-party supplier in Mexico after a cost-cutting initiative called Project Horizon. That change, undocumented in consumer materials, saved GM roughly $14 per engine, but significantly reduced overall durability. Internally, engineers who questioned these practices were allegedly told to trust the process. One anonymous source later told reporters, "We knew the metallurgy wasn't holding up, but no one wanted to hear it. Production quotas came first." The result was a generation of engines that met every test in the lab but failed catastrophically in the real world. The combination of microscopic machining flaws, flawed oil control systems, and cost-cutting measures created the perfect storm. Trucks that once symbolized American resilience began stalling on highways, losing power during towing, or seizing entirely within a few years of pricks. What should have been a triumph of engineering efficiency turned into a case study in corporate short-sightedness, a painful reminder that even the smallest compromise, multiplied across millions of engines, can shake the foundation of an entire industry. Inside the glass towers of Detroit, long before the scandal reached the public, there was a phrase whispered among GM insiders, WE thinking, short for warranty engineering. It wasn't a department, but a mindset. In the internal presentations, executives described it as strategic durability planning. The philosophy was simple and ruthless: engineer every component to survive the warranty period, plus a small buffer for perception. Beyond that, longevity was not a performance metric, it was a cost liability. When cost analysts mapped warranty claims against production budgets, they discovered that shaving just 2% off long-term reliability could save the company hundreds of millions over 5 years. That calculation became doctrine. Under this system, engineers were no longer rewarded for designing engines that outlasted their predecessors. Instead, success was measured by how efficiently they could deliver acceptable reliability within the warranty window. Meetings that once revolved around metallurgy and fluid dynamics shifted towards spreadsheets, risk models, and financial curves. Engineers who raised ethical concerns were quietly moved to less visible roles, while those who met durability cost targets were promoted. A former senior engineer, now retired, told investigative journalists that the cultural shift was like watching a religion die. He recalled a time when the mantra was, "Build it to last longer than the owner." By 2021, that had become, "Build it to last long enough." Documents later revealed that some managers even referred to their predictive failure models as the glide path. The term described how long an engine could be expected to function before wear accelerated exponentially. GM's leadership wasn't blind to the data. They managed it. When simulation showed premature failures in certain truck engines, the glide path was quietly adjusted upward, not by improving components, but by modifying testing assumptions. The target life expectancy simply changed on paper. As one anonymous data analyst admitted, we weren't engineering solutions, we were engineering statistics. The impact on truck owners was devastating. Across the United States, thousands of loyal GM customers began experiencing sudden engine shutdowns on highways, during construction hauls, or in the middle of farm work. In dozens of cases, engines failed with no warning lights or error codes, leaving drivers stranded in dangerous conditions. A mechanic from Kansas City described engines that just froze solid, like someone threw a wrench into the gears. For families who relied on these trucks for business, the consequences were financial ruin. Many still owed tens of thousands on their vehicle loans, and replacement engines cost between $7,000 and $12,000. Insurance companies were reluctant to cover the failures, classifying them as mechanical defect not covered under policy. Some small business owners lost contracts after repeated breakdowns. A farmer in Nebraska claimed he had to sell half his equipment to cover the repair costs of his 2021 Sierra. In online communities, owners began compiling spreadsheets of VIN numbers and failure dates, discovering alarming patterns that GM had not disclosed. The sense of betrayal ran deep. These weren't casual drivers. They were people who had stuck with GM through generations, often proudly displaying Chevy Strong decals on their tailgates. Dealers, caught in the middle, faced an impossible situation. They were inundated with angry customers demanding answers, yet corporate bulletins offered only minimal fixes, oil flushes, software updates, or replacements of non-critical components. Mechanics privately admitted these measures were band-aids on a bullet wound. Some dealerships even began stockpiling used engines from scrapyards to meet demand, a desperate improvisation that further eroded consumer trust. The ripple effect extended beyond individual owners. In sectors like construction and logistics and emergency services, GM trucks had long been a staple. Municipal fleets started pulling GM vehicles from service after several engine failures disrupted operations. One fire department in Arizona reported a rescue truck breaking down en route to an emergency, a story that made local headlines and intensified the public outrage. Competitors seized the opportunity. Ford launched a marketing campaign offering $2,000 trade-in bonuses for GM truck owners looking for reliability they can count on. Toyota and Ram followed with similar offers, framing GM's crisis as proof of their own superior durability. Meanwhile, inside GM's legal department, alarm bells were ringing. By late 2024, more than 24 class action lawsuits had been filed across multiple states, accusing the company of concealment, deceptive trade practices, and breach of warranty. Internal emails obtained through discovery painted a damning picture of corporate coordination. In one chain, a regional executive warned that acknowledging the scale of the defect could trigger a recall exceeding financial viability thresholds. Another suggested delaying communications to allow warranty expirations to phase out the exposure pool. These phrases, cold, calculated, and bureaucratic, would later become central exhibits in court. Attorneys representing affected owners argued that GM had violated the most basic principle of consumer protection: transparency. Several cases cited the precedent of the ignition switch scandal a decade earlier, which had cost GM billions in settlements and shattered its public image. Yet, despite the lessons supposedly learned, history seemed to repeat itself. Congressional committees began calling for hearings. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration expanded its investigation, focusing on the discrepancy between reported and actual failure rates. Behind closed doors, GM's communications team worked overtime to contain the damage. They crafted statements emphasizing customer satisfaction and commitment to improvement, while quietly instructing social media moderators to downplay negative posts on official channels. Yet the tide of public anger was unstoppable. Independent YouTubers and automotive journalists released investigative videos viewed by millions, showing destroyed engines, leaked memos, and interviews with disillusioned employees. The financial markets reacted swiftly. GM's stock dropped nearly 18% in a single quarter, erasing billions in market value. Analysts warned that the company's legal exposure could exceed its warranty reserves by a factor of 5. Credit agencies began discussing potential downgrades. Inside the company, divisions emerged between engineers demanding accountability and executives desperate to preserve investor confidence. One internal town hall reportedly ended with a veteran technician standing up and saying, "You can't spreadsheet your way out of a moral failure." The room fell silent. As the lawsuits progressed, more whistleblowers came forward, painting a clearer picture of systemic disregard for long-term quality. A former materials engineer revealed that certain cost-saving alloy substitutions had been approved even after test results showed reduced fatigue resistance. Another testified that management overruled a proposal to recall 300,000 engines in early 2022 because it would signal instability to shareholders. Each revelation chipped away at GM's credibility. By the beginning of 2025, the scandal had transcended the automotive world. It became a broader symbol of corporate greed and the erosion of trust in American manufacturing. For decades, GM trucks had represented reliability, strength, and tradition. Now they represented something else, the cost of cutting corners in pursuit of quarterly profits. The lawsuits are still moving through the courts, and the full financial impact remains unknown. But in small towns and big cities alike, the damage is already done. Families who once swore by the brand now swear at it. The emblem that once stood for durability now serves as a cautionary tale. GM's leadership insists it is learning from the past and investing in future engine programs with enhanced quality assurance. Yet to many Americans, those words ring hollow. Trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt. In the end, the scandal is more than a story about engines or corporations. It's about promises, the kind made between a company and its customers, and what happens when those promises are treated as expendable line items on a balance sheet.